Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. And I thank you so much for being part of our panel discussion today. To you students, parents, and our incoming students, our JC students out there, thank you. And we're going to have a very interactive discussion this morning. Our topic is building capabilities for the future workplace. Today, I have with me my three panelists, and I will be introducing to them, you to them very shortly. So just a brief introduction about myself. I'm from the Career Services Office of the Nanyang Business School. What I work and do with students is to help them understand their career plans, aspirations, help them to also realize their career dreams. And this we do through mentoring programs, internships, one-on-one coaching. We also do a lot of our workshops, networking sessions for our employers together with our students. What's so special about coming into the Nanyang Business School is that you have a special career services team just for our Nanyang Business School student. And in addition to that, you also have an NTU career services team. So you actually get a lot of resources to help you navigate through your university life as well as your career journey. And I would now like to take the time to introduce to you my three wonderful panelists here who have taken the time to join us this morning. Ms. Sherie Ng, who sits on my left, is the Country Director of Singapore Malaysia, Google Cloud. Mr. Eric Lim, Chief Sustainability Officer and Head of Google Cloud from UOB. And Ms. Carmen Chan, Head of HR, Pharmaceuticals, Asia Pacific, Johnson & Johnson. I would ask the panelists to take some time now to briefly introduce yourselves.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Linda, for having me. It's amazing to be back to these facilities. I think it's been almost 3 decades. So I'm really, really excited this morning to be speaking with all of you. Maybe just a little bit about my journey. I graduated from Nanyang Business School long, like I said, more than 3 decades ago, and started my career journey really in tech. I started my career journey with this company called Lucent Technologies that gave me the opportunity to really work around the region to put together a wireless network. Back then, we're talking about 2.5G, 3G, and that gives me an opportunity to go around the world, Asia actually, to learn about the culture there. And from there, I pretty much progressed while I graduated with a business degree. Progressed my career in tech, basically in different software companies and Microsoft and Google, most recently. In that journey, I really understand how important tech is in the life of society, people, and countries, and had the privilege to really work with very talented people around the world. And honestly, there's no such thing as like tech or business or engineering. It's about everybody coming together in an organization to work towards a mission and a dream to make things come true.
Thank you. And Eric?
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Lim. Similar to Sherie, I also graduated with a Bachelor's of Accounting from NTU a long time ago. So I've been working for about 24, 25 years. And the easy way to think about my career is in halves, right? The first half of my career, I spent outside of Singapore with a company called GE and GE Capital. And there I lived and worked in over 20 countries across the world, kind of seeing what the big, scary big world out there was, right? For the last 12 years, I've been back home here in Singapore. And I joined banking in Singapore, moved through OCBC, Standard Chartered, and currently I'm with UOB, and I've been for the last 8 years. So I take 2 portfolios. I hold 2 portfolios within the bank. I've always been and continue to be a finance professional. And so head of group finance, not head of Google services, right, for UOB.
Thank you for recruiting.
And I am also the Chief Sustainability Officer for the bank because as many of you know, sustainability is becoming a really big thing that we've got to be able to help our economies and communities crack. And so I lead the bank's efforts in those areas as well.
So, hello everyone, my name is Carmen, and I also graduated from School of Accountancy and Business, but with a business degree, and I major in human resources. So very quickly, I landed myself in a role, a HR role, and it was with a Japanese multinational, and did a couple of years of HR work, and then I joined M1. So very interestingly, that was the time when Singapore decided to give up the monopoly of Singtel, and M1 came in as a startup, second entrant into telecommunication, and it was extremely fun to be in a startup company. I think that's the time where I learned a lot about innovation, how to do marketing and try to compete with the big muscles and the big powers out there of Singtel. And then I very quickly joined Microsoft, and also in the capacity of HR. So Sherie, I didn't realize that we had the same background. So I had about 11 years in Microsoft and moving across different capacity in HR, partnering with different business groups. And then I decided to join the world of healthcare. And so I'm currently the head of HR for the pharmaceutical business in Johnson & Johnson.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for your introduction. We have lined up 3 exciting speakers. We are going to be talking about technology. We're going to be talking about sustainability, finance, as well as talent. So before, I know you're all raring to go, and I would also like to invite you to ask your questions on Slido. If you have any questions on Slido, please feel free to type in your questions, and our speakers are also able to take your questions, so that this is a very interactive session. If you have a question that is specific for one of our speakers, you just have to put his name in the front, like, oh, Eric, I don't mean to point you out, but Eric, and then you can ask him questions, right? So I'm going to start, I think with a very, very important, very relevant question, especially after pandemic and in the days of COVID, sustainability. Right, this is a question that is on everybody's mind, and as well as what can we do more, what can we do less, what should we not do, what should we be doing a lot of. And from a business school perspective, and with our audience here, I'm going to ask you a very, very simple question. What is sustainability? And the second question is, what does a CSO do in sustainability?
Sure, thanks a lot for that question. I think it's a really good question to start out with, because if you go back a few years, you can see that sustainability, number one, wasn't really mainstream in our part of the world, in our mainstream media, in our psyche, right? And if you were to ask anyone about sustainability, invariably you'll get things like, don't use plastic bags, or don't use plastic straws, or the styrofoam box is very bad, right? Now, that is all true, but when we talk about sustainability today, we're talking about a different scale of the work that needs to be done. So let me quickly start by defining what sustainability is, right? Sustainability can be of an environmental nature, can be of a social nature, or can be of a governance nature. So sometimes we hear the terms ESG being used, right? And it's very important to understand that sustainability is about how do we go about our daily lives, driving our economies, providing employment for our people in a way that is sustainably resilient in the long term, both environmentally, socially, as well as from a governance perspective, right? And so if you start to think of sustainability from that standpoint, you can quickly tell it's not just about plastic bags, it's not about plastic straws, it's not about styrofoam boxes, right? And so really another way that's great to think about sustainability is we often hear about the Paris Agreement, right? The greenhouse gas emissions of the world. And you hear this big number, 50 gigatons of greenhouse gases per year. So the big work that we have to do, for example, on environment, is how do we take a modern economy that works very, very well, but generates 50 gigatons of greenhouse gases a year, and transform and retool and reinvent this whole modern economy to do everything the economy needs to do, provide jobs, transportation, food, all that kind of stuff, but with 0 greenhouse gas emissions. That's a simple way to think about the big work, right? And you can begin to tell then, as a CSO, our jobs within our organizations is to figure out how we help our business units, how our business strategies, our products and services align with that concept of a net zero world by the year 2050. And so every CSO for a different business will have a different kind of focus, but it's all about helping us collectively get towards that goal.
Well, thank you for the very good explanation. And Sherie, you want to add on sustainability?
Yeah, I think like uh, the the world today. I mean, last week in Singapore is very, very telling. We have one of the hottest seasons ever since 1983, and so I think sustainability to all of us has to be a responsibility for what we begin to create today for the future generation. So for me and for us at Google, we take sustainability as core and central to everything we do. In fact, we have a very interesting movement right now. We call it the path to net zero. To Eric's point, we're all producing for the economy, for people, but how do we do that at the same time not have an ability to reduce the carbon emission that we produced into the environment. So from a Google perspective, we see sustainability, our responsibility here is sustainability is a data problem. Today, every consumer, every company, organization, as we produce, we do not actually have a dashboard that tells us exactly how much carbon emission, what's the impact to the environment, to the society, to the people. So from a Google perspective, we are driving an industry motions where we can all come together and use our collective power. It's not a problem that individual company can solve. This is a very large societal problem that requires all of us to collaborate at a global scale so that we can all work towards a more sustainable future by the options and the choices that we make every day. So from our perspective, we're putting together industry movement of bringing data together. So as an organization makes a decision, should I use technology A or B? Should I use process A or B? At consumer level, where you look at should I buy product A or B, we are trying to bring that collective data to consumer and organization so that we are able to make choices that contributes to a sustainable world. So that's from our perspective.
Wow. Okay. So thanks for breaking it down into parts like that our audience and I can understand what we about zero emissions. And Sherie talked about having everybody coming together for it, right? But in view of this, you need people, and when you need people, you need talent, in this area. So I would like to ask Carmen, in this area of sustainability and bringing data together, have we managed to develop talent, in this area? Do we have enough, people in this area, to run all this huge, mission together?
Yeah, I think today, to answer your question in short is I don't think we have enough people. You will always have the specialists who are specialized in sustainability work, but I think like data literacy, sustainability has to be something that is in everybody's life, in our everyday life. You can't just rely on the specialists. You can't just rely on data sciences to give you the data. Business leaders need to be a lot more, data savvy. And then likewise, everybody needs to be sustainability savvy as well. Yeah. So I think corporations and organizations have a role to play to build that culture in the organization and make that everybody's job.
Well, yeah, and to this, because you're alumni and maybe you haven't been back in school for a while, in Nanyang Business School, we have a Center of Sustainability. We also give our students sustainability courses. Every year, first-year student that enters NTU would have to take an core curriculum course, and that is taking a sustainability course. So we want to make sure that our students are grounded and that they understand, why they are actually doing a degree. I mean, we all do a degree for various reasons, and giving them that sustainability mindset and providing it for them is really important for the Nanyang Business School. So for sure, if you are coming in and you are very interested, in sustainability, we are a place for you. Yeah, so now let me just ask about technology, right? Yeah, Sherie talk about, you are in Malaysia, Singapore, you're the country manager of Google Cloud, right? When you talk about cloud and sustainability, how do you get the two to kind of this interplay.
Oh my God, Linda, you're giving me an advertising moment. I shall take that.
No, I mean, we use Google all the time, you know,
Yeah.
as we use UOB, and we also use J&J products. So everybody has a fair chance today.
Lovely question. Thank you for staging that. So if you look at what we are doing at Google Cloud, I think I'm doing two things really. You know, I told my team that our core mission is basically one is we all know how powerful Google has been, you know, for the consumer in the world, and at Google Cloud we're trying to bring and orchestrate the full capabilities and power of Google capability for the enterprise so that every enterprise can become the digital company of the future. So that's one mission. And to do that, we're looking at, you know, how Google Cloud can help organizations basically adopt cloud technology that does a couple of things amazingly. Number one is whether you're a small company or you're a mid-sized company or you're a big company, you have an ability to tap into the world of innovation in the cloud world. The cloud operates with an ecosystem of the world. So by leveraging the cloud platform, you basically have an opportunity to tap on the innovation that everybody brings to the cloud. So the open source and the open systems are very, very popular there. So every organization can access to great innovation and technology and then bring those innovation and idea to market very quickly. So if you look at, you know, maybe for the small mom and pop shops or the hawker center, you know, on our street, you'd be thinking, how would they have an ability to develop an app or, you know, create the digital presence and be able to manage their business? So what we're doing is through the cloud platform, give them that opportunity equivalent to what the large MNCs can do on their own. So it creates open access and opportunity for everybody to be participating in what we call the digital economy of the future. We all have been talking about how ASEAN is entering into one of the most exciting digital decades. By leveraging the cloud, you basically have an ability to break down all the geographical silos. You have maybe just slightly more relevant. So I talk a lot about agriculture. The farmers today have no access to the global marketplace. So they get exploited in the distribution channel perspective. By coming and embracing technology, they basically create an open access for what we call the marketplace, right? So it gives them opportunity to go beyond just selling to their little town, little communities, or even a country into the international market in that sense. So that's kind of what we're doing. From a sustainability perspective, I think this is a very well-kept secret that we have. So Google has been carbon neutral since 2007. And by 2017, we've made it our mandate that wherever we power our solutions, whether you're doing a search on Google Maps or YouTube or pretty much any Google product, we're carbon, we power everything with 100% renewables energy. So from a sustainability perspective, if any organization move their workload to Google Cloud today, they basically have an ability to contribute to sustainability by reducing their carbon emission immediately by as much as about 40%. Based on the statistic. So it is a sustainable choice for consumers and organizations out there. I can go on and on, but I think Carmen and Eric will have a lot more to say.
Yeah, so if we talk about digital and sustainability, even in UOB, we call these the two big megatrends, right? And it's important to understand why we use the term megatrend for digital as well as sustainability. It's not just a theme, it's not just a fad. It's a megatrend because we think these are long-tailed structural changes that will integrate into every part of our economy, of our lives, of how we do things, right? For many of you younger audiences, you may not realize that there was a life before smartphones, right? In fact, if you think about this smartphone, it is only about 15 years old in terms of technology. The first smartphone was delivered by Apple in, I think, 2007, around that time. Before that world, shockingly, shockingly, there were no smartphones. Now, can you imagine a world today without smartphones, right? Everything is powered by this mobile device we have in our hands, right? So that's the power of digital as a megatrend. And it's not anywhere close to done. There still has a long tail that is left to run. And you start talking about things like decentralized finance, the metaverse, etc., big long tail. Same for sustainability. And I would even argue for sustainability, there is we're at an even earlier part of the curve with a lot more innovation, technological drops, business model reinventions that are coming. So I think it's very important that when we think about digital and sustainability, we don't think of the shine of it, right? Because it all sounds very markety, so cool, so trendy. Sherie and I can tell you that behind the shine and the marketiness of it, there is a lot of technical depth. You really need to know your stuff, right? And that's where I think a quality education with strong technical depth that you can tap upon allows you to have a very strong foundation to propel yourself forward as you begin to build careers around such megatrends.
Yeah, so my next question, I think, would be, to Carmen, right? We have so many students asking us, will technology then replace, us, right? Replace our future? What would you have, what would you say to that?
I think technology will replace certain parts of the work that we do, right? You cannot completely take away the human nature of work, right? So, sometimes I attend forums and people are asking questions like, how do we bring the human back into work? Because we went quite far, right?
Right.
You think about the world of HR, we've done a lot of shared services work, and people are saying that, oh, I'm now interacting with a bot. I'm interacting with somebody that's behind the scene, and I don't have that human touch anymore.
Yes.
So where is that balance? I think that's very important, right? And I think that there are definitely activities that you need to have, the human relations. Students that come into the workplace need to understand that the workplace is also changing. Technology is meant to help us be a lot more productive. It's going to enhance our ability to make data-driven decisions. But ultimately, you still need somebody there to, look into the gray, and be able to mentor others. Those kind of things cannot be taken over by bots, right?
Maybe can I just add on that
Yes,
point, right?
yeah.
I think as the people are thinking about, oh my God, is technology going to replace my role in the society? Honestly, for employers like us, every day we're crunching, oh my God, where do I get the talent?
That's right.
We have a actual really, really big problem with a talent crunch right now. And where is the divide? Where's the gap? The gap is really, if you go to LinkedIn profile, right, and data, you will see that 3 out of the 5 jobs that used to be there are no longer there for the new world. The world, to Carmen's point, our world is changing, and the roles and responsibility of the different the jobs are very, very different. So I guess it's very timely that people understand that our world is changing, and the role that is needed in the market requires different type of skill sets. In fact, I think it's even more intensive on human beings, just because I have a very simple diagram that basically talks about how don't do the work that machine can do. Machine is so much better at gathering information, processing, analyzing. But to Carmen's point, we need somebody to make a judgment call. While we have data-driven decision-making, it helps and aid, and so that we can make better decisions. As we're talking about sustainability, for example. If I know choice A actually emits 5% less carbon, then I would be able to then make that sustainable choice. But then somebody needs a judgment call. I would say in the new world, the tech and digital skills, people talk about this, right? Every business is a tech business for the future world. It needs to be powered by tech. And a simple analogy is really you can be the greatest, philanthropist of Tony Stark, good-looking, smart, intelligent, but there's limited capacity of what he can do. But the moment he puts on the Iron Man suit, he's a superpower. He's a superhero, and that's what technology do to human being. It gives you that superpower. Imagine a classroom of a professor today who does one of the most amazing lecture, but can only speak to 10 people. You have very limited capacity, but with technology, then you have an ability, like what this amazing guys is doing behind the scene, to broadcast it, and millions of people then benefit. The students in Indonesia, India, Africa are just going onto YouTube and learning some of the most amazing stuff. They have access to knowledge like they have never been before, and this is not possible without technology.
Well, indeed, yeah, very interesting sharing. The fact that we are here today, we are live here at the Nanyang Business School, but we're able to speak with you, Zoom it beyond Singapore, I think that's really awesome. So I wanted to ask you a question, right? The skills are really going to be important. Critical skills are very important. What do you think, how do you think university students can acquire skills other than the academic skills while they're at university into the areas of talent management, sustainability, and technology? Anyone?
I can start, right? So I agree. I think the academics is a very important foundational piece, but by itself, it's not rich enough, right? And so it is, I think, a couple of areas that we can think about, right? The first thing is it's very important, and I'm sure my fellow panelists will back me up on this one, is to have this concept of a growth mindset, right? And a growth mindset essentially means you don't learn for the sake of simply achieving a particular specific target outcome. You learn for the sake of learning and growing, and it becomes part of your psyche, right? Anything you don't know doesn't make you pull back. Anything you don't know makes you curious, and you want to go figure out what is this thing that you don't know, right? So that growth mindset, I cannot overstress, right, is part of that winning ingredient, okay? The second thing is then being able to find the right platforms, forums, there are a lot of, for example, student groups, internships, webinars, talks, and you want to be able to take some of your capacity and not just bury yourself in your books, but do these sessions, right? Because this is the eye-opening part of the education process that helps you understand how big that world is, how many topics there are out there, different perspectives, and it really sharpens up a very important part that Sherie and Carmen talked about, which is how do you then become skilled to do the stuff robotics, automation, digital cannot do? Because it's that innovation, ideation, judgment, perspective that you will be able to accrete beyond the academics that make you just that hit higher than the rest of the industry or the rest of the peer group. My thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say take every moment to, be involved in things that allow you to build planning skills, organizational skills, where you can galvanize people, to come along on a journey, because those are things that are really important. You want to be purpose-driven when you're out in the workplace. The workplace has changed a lot. If you think about, in the past, it used to be very hierarchical. Now it's not anymore. You go into agile teams, you go into squads for problem solving, you are in cross-functional teams. So the earlier you can build empathy, the earlier you can build skills where you can, learn to collaborate, have peer leadership. Those are really fantastic skills to bring into the organization. And I think in the university, if I remember what we used to have, you can be part of JCRC, in the hostels. You can organize activities on behalf of the student body. I've also learned over time that, tapping into, universities' optional programs to learn new things outside of the curriculum can really bring a lot of value back into the workplace.
Maybe I just add, I think one is the the world is really, really moving. We call it the digital skills, the digital cloud, right?
Yes.
The speed at which things are transforming and moving is it's accelerating exponentially. So I guess the number one things to students, my number one message is stay connected, stay relevant while you are, pursuing. I know how I have a girl that is 20 years old and my son is 25. I know the amount of hours that they spend like diving deep into, all the law journals and stuff like that. I'm like, can you please tell your school that you can Google most of this stuff? You don't really need to memorize them. but jokes aside, is that while you spend time really diving into the academic pursuit, I think it's very important to carve out time to really allow your imagination to grow. To Eric's point, that growth mindset, right? So two ways, right? There's so much information out there. Just Google everything. You have free access to information. Keep that appetite to learn on a continuous basis. I always tell everybody that I meet that I do what I call reverse mentoring. I sit down and I ask my daughter and my son every day what's happening in their life, because their world is actually moving super fast and very interesting things that are happening there. Second is stay relevant to the industry. Pick an industry that you are passionate about. Something that your heart is going to beat, if you work on those projects, and volunteer yourself, go connect with an industry. If you love finance, this is the best chance. Connect with Eric and ask him, be a mentor. I think a mentor is an amazing opportunity for you to, just step on the shoulders of giants like that, and continuously stay relevant to the industry by volunteering to help. There's so many big societal problems that we're looking for people to come and support and, create solutions. So I would say, that 2 points.
Yeah, so at NBS, we do recognize, mentoring programs, volunteer work, CCA, right, to be able to build your teamwork skills, develop empathy, develop resilience, all that is really important. And my office has mentoring programs for students. You could be a reverse mentor, but you can also be a mentor. And we have mentors from industry as well as our alumni mentor who are always willing to come back and help our students and help them through the, the career journey and help them to navigate. And this is why, the business school is so wonderful, because our mentors and our alumni are always ever so supportive, even coming back, to talk with you students, incoming students. So I'm going to ask you a couple of this is going to be a bit more personal touch, right? What would you say, to our audience and to our students out there? If, you were your younger self again, what kind of advice would you give them on how to navigate their university life and how to prepare for the workforce?
We volunteer.
Should we give you good advice? I don't know about me.
Yeah, so while you're thinking, Carmen, the Slido QR code is open. We are very happy to hear your thoughts. If you have any burning questions, to our panelists here, please key in your questions and we'll be able to take them and address them today.
I think I really love my university days. I make the best friends when I'm in university. I even married someone in the university or from the university as well. So I'll say, look, studies is not everything, right? Have a good social life. I think the university, gives you that. But if I get a chance to redo it all over again, I think, I would want to get myself more involved in things where I can really be effectively communicating. So do more presentations, be out there and practicing, how to address an audience and stuff like that. Because one of the key things we realize in the workplace is Asians are inherently shy. We don't talk a lot about ourselves. But you need that skill in the workplace. So I would say, find opportunities to do that. My son is a YouTuber. I don't think he will mind me saying that. And that forces him to just be out there, do this kind of panel discussion, build on better communication skills and articulating skills. I think if I get a chance to redo it again, I hope to be like him. Yeah.
Carmen's inspired me. I found my mojo. Yeah, so building on Carmen's point, I think that is a very simple model that I like to share with our audience as we think about building skills, right? And it's the T model of skills. The vertical part of the T is your technical capability, right? Depending on what you choose to be your major, your chosen industry, your chosen profession, all the technical skills that are required is part of that T. Needs to be strong, needs to be broad, needs to be complete. But it's also very important, to Carmen's point, that we build the top part of that T. What is the top part of that T? The top part of that T is the ability to understand a business problem, to be able to create, buy into a solution, communicate, influence, lead, work in teams, affect change, right? And if you have that top part of the T and the vertical part of the T, imagine how very powerful as an individual, as a team member, as potential leaders of the future you become, right? And so connecting that to the question on what to do in university to build that out, I think we touched on that a little bit just now. The academics are very important. Don't get me wrong on this, right? But the university environment is a low-stakes environment to experiment and build some of the top parts of the T, right? Go join a club, lead something, debate, build something, and if it all goes sideways, it doesn't matter. But then you have that very low stakes, high learning environment where you can try and try again, and a wonderful way to be able to experiment and build your own style around some parts of the top part of the T.
What would I redo? Honestly, we don't have time to think back on what would. But I think to Eric's and Carmen's point, right? I think university provides a really great opportunity for you not to just get your academic pursuit and the grades, which again, we saw that question. I just actually had a debate with my son recently about that question. So I think it's related, right?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, and I think Sherie is going to be taking it. It says, what are employers looking out for in today's job market? Is internship experience or grades more important?
So just building on what Eric say, just news to everybody. I think the world looks at what we call a skills-based economy, that is building up. So skill sets and competency is absolutely, what employers look for. But honestly, grades is equally important because you can't even get through the door, if you don't have the grades and the certifications. So I think employers are a lot more open-minded today, that they look specifically for certain core competencies and skills when we look for people. But more importantly, the grades are kind of like your baseline, right, to get into the process. And to Carmen and Eric's point, spend a lot of time in university days leading something, helping, building, and contributing to the world when you have that ability and safe environment to do that. Because what we are looking for are leadership skills that you cannot find in robots. What we are looking for are cognitive skills that, again, you cannot just design it into machine because the world is very agile. We're operating in a there's no such thing as give me your 5-year business plan. We're looking at what's happening in the next 3, 6, and 9 months, and things does change. We're looking for people with an ability to be agile, with an ability to be very, very, to be very resilient to your mission and call, because things might change, but you want people with an ability to be so focused, on the mission that they are given at hand, and have an ability to move around when situation changes. So that situational leadership, the ability to continue to have that growth mindset, to acquire knowledge and empathy, to the situation is absolutely critical.
Well, looks like we also have another question, right? Which is on, this morning it seems to be an important topic on grades. I think the question is about, grades are very important, and I'm coming in as a student, but what else can I also do to help, me with my good grades and, develop the other skills? Yeah, Carmen?
I think we touch a lot on that, right? if the term all-rounder is still relevant, I would say, be an all-rounder. You don't want to be skewed towards just too academically excellent. You want to, we want you to demonstrate the fact that you actually, have the can-do spirit. And if we throw you in an environment where you're not familiar with, and when there is a lot of ambiguity, we want to know that you can thrive, right? And how we know that is when we see that you have actually got diverse experiences, even when you are in school, right? So I think an all-rounder will differentiate himself or herself very well in the workplace. Yeah. So I'll say, yes, grades are important. It's also equally important to build the other skills.
And may I just add that at the Nanyang Business School, we allow you to gain internship experience because internship is mandatory, and as well as work-study degree program, of which we have many students doing a longer-term internships who are gaining credits, who are gaining work experience, developing agility, developing what we call agile thinking as well. And at the same time, we sit in a very huge university, right? So we have our various halls of residence. We have our ECA groups to go into. And let me just take some of these questions on Slido. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. Okay, it looks like Eric, what is sustainable finance? Eric is also the group head of finance in UOB, and this is really interesting.
I can, but I'll leave that one to you. So there are actually two questions here. The first one is, what is sustainable finance? I'd love to answer that. The second one is an interesting one that says, I'd like to earn good money when I graduate. Will I be able to do that if I pursue a career in sustainability, right? So I'm going to try to combine these two questions together. First, if we understand what a bank does first, right? I'll be able to then explain what sustainable finance is. A bank essentially provides financing for companies or individuals in order to run their businesses or run their personal lives, right? Very simple concept. So when we think about sustainability for the economy, like we mentioned just now, it's about affecting the right environmental, social, or governance outcomes. Sustainable finance, therefore, is the financing we provide to companies in order to help them transform, transition, or move their business models, build new capabilities to be a sustainable company, right? And so you hear terms like green finance. Green finance is the financing we provide to companies for them to build assets that are considered green for the economy or for the environment, right? You hear about terms like sustainability-linked financing. This is the financing we give companies to help them meet their sustainability goals across a wide range of E, S, or G. And you may even have heard of a term called transition finance. Transition finance is the financing we give to what we call hard-to-abate sectors, oil and gas, coal, all that kind of stuff, power generation, in order to help them make that transition, which is why it's called transition financing. So at the end of the day, the easiest way to think about sustainable finance is the money we put into the economy, into the sectors, into companies to help them transform or build the capability and capacity required for a sustainable world. Yeah. So back on that question, I'd like to earn good money when I graduate. Will I be able to do that if I pursue a career in sustainability? I will first say, everybody wants to earn good money when they graduate, right? And I'm going to say that it is very important that you don't make that your North Star. Because if earning good money is your North Star, what's going to happen is you're going to jump from whatever the latest pay me a bit more kind of money looks like. And what you're going to realize, right, for us who've built long careers is if you just keep making decisions like that, in 10 to 15 years' time, you will start to actually lose momentum. Because for those of us who had a North Star, a level of focus, and we built our capabilities and our cred, right? We may have started a little, behind the hoppers in the first few years, but the acceleration, that J curve as we call it, is huge, right? And if you make earning good money your top priority, you're gonna hop, 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 and in 10 years, all of us will overtake you, and by that time, you spent the most precious early years of your career not investing in yourself, right? So would you want to pursue a career in sustainability? I will say, as the Chinese say, 行行出状元, right? You will have scholars in every industry, and pick what you want to be good at, right? And make that your focus and your North Star.
And I super agree with you, Eric. I have this concept. When I started my work, it's about putting food on the table. I'm not sure if the money is good, but at least we got food on the table. And I believe in this concept of blooming where you're planted. When you're given an opportunity, do the best work that you can do. Bring the best self, and an opportunity will just arise. For anyone who wants to always outperform and deliver over and above. I think as employer, we are all looking for people who are willing to put that commitment out there. To Eric's point, it's very easy to hope for a 10% increase, 20% increase, but by that time, you might be, overtaken as he does it very well with that J curve. Yeah.
Yeah, Carmen, would you have anything to add to that?
I at the end of the day, like Sherie, many people start off their careers, just wanting to learn something, do something, right, and contribute back. Ultimately, as you reach a certain stage, it becomes, what is your purpose, right? So if your purpose is continuously to make money, maybe that could be. But I think most people will find that purpose will become more alive as they, pursue what's important in life, as your life stages changed. Money could be something that you start off with, but eventually that will change, right? And I think, Eric, you touch on, learning, lifelong learning. I never quite thought about sustainable HR, to be very honest. But if I were to think about what are we in for the long term, I think it's all about learning. It's lifelong learning. It's long term. So in HR, we believe in talent development. A company like Johnson & Johnson pay a lot of attention to our employees and how they grow in the company, how they build new capabilities, new skills that they can continue on, and do different types of roles and build diverse experiences. To me, that's sustainability, because you are taking people into the long term.
Yes, and now we have about 5 minutes left, but we have all these wonderful questions coming in. What new skill sets should we pursue to stand in good state in your respective industry, in HR, in sustainability, finance, as well as in technology? And these are incoming students, right? I think they're just planning beyond academic. What else should they also pursue? And how do you advise? What if you want to do an internship that's unrelated to your future career, but you're interested in? How do you land a job in there? For instance, the last question: is it possible for you, to land a job in a tech-related job in the future? Panelists?
Sure. I think, is it possible for NTU business grad? I'm NTU business grad, but I've worked in some of the coolest tech company in the world. And yeah, absolutely, like what Eric said, right? Do well where you enter, and opportunities will open. I mean, at Google, we provide market mobility, geographical mobility. You can work in any parts of the world if you do well in your current role. And we also look at opportunities for people to switch. You can be in business and do some work in, like software development, or do a 20% project that's totally unrelated to your core day job. And because the project became, the next big thing, and you start to lead a business, it's all things are possible. And I always, I like your term, 行行出状元. You really get to be able to shine. And maybe, Carmen, you want to take the skill sets?
I'll say focus on soft skills, right? A lot of graduates coming in, there is already a very strong foundation, a technical foundation. So, pay attention to soft skills as you come into the organization. How do you collaborate? How do you influence others? How do you communicate effectively? how can you work effectively across multiple different cultures, and also multicultural awareness. Those are really good skill sets to bring into the workplace. If you have, I think data and data analytics is something that is really interesting. And I think that's going to be part and parcel of everybody's job. It's just not your data scientist job or your advanced analytics job. Even for me as a HR person, I'm now training myself to make more data-driven decisions. So the more you can do that while you're at school, I think that will be a great skill set to bring.
Maybe I'll throw in two more little comments just to round it out. It's very competitive out there. You've got the right grades, you've got the right internships, you've got the right soft skills. What is that magical little bit that's still going to set you apart? And I'm going to say that in your interview, if you can demonstrate, number one, drive, right? So a self-starter, you've got that internal battery that drives you forward. But importantly, that drives comes across as winning for the team and the organization. That drive doesn't come through as winning for you and you alone. Because when employers like us can sense that, wow, this person really wants to achieve and perform, but it's about winning together as a team, those are the special ones that we love to have on our teams. Fair?
Absolutely. Spot on. Because I think our world is becoming a collaborative world. No one person have it all. You need to have that skill set and that magic power to be able to bring people along that journey with you. Whether it's a project that you have in school, a program that you want to run in a company and in an industry. Even for me at Google, right? We've been trying to spread that magic power. Join us in that industry motion for sustainability, because the problem is at global scale. No one organization or person can solve it. So to Carmen's point, that soft skills, leadership capability, they're willing to step over and above, the ability to want to win for the country, the company, the organization, and the team, not just for yourself.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, thanks for all the, I think we could just, this is a really robust discussion that we have this morning. There's so much that we could discuss about. And I really want to thank my panelists here. They do not know it yet, but, we're going to get them back very soon, maybe, in 6 months' time, and we could have another robust discussion, fantastic discussion. Okay, I'll just take one last question that is, there. May I ask what job roles will look like in 10 years? Just asking so that I can prepare now. Yeah, very, very good question. We are looking at the three, the experts in HR, in sustainability and finance, and in technology, the three most important topics today.
Maybe I'll start, because I suspect I'm going to be leading the way for my panelists here. The answer is we don't really know, right? And the reason we don't really know is, I want to explain something to our audience here, right? If you go back 20, 30 years ago, you had innovation curves, cycles, business model curves that would take, 10 years to develop, run successfully for 30 years, and take 10 years to die, right? Today, your innovation cycle, you take a year to innovate, you run it successfully for 5, and it dies within 6 months, right? And so the nature of the economy, the nature of work, right? What is relevant, what is not, is so fast-paced now that literally you have to go back to not job roles, but skills. What skills do you have that you carry with you, inherently within you, that doesn't matter what job you do, that you can do multiple jobs, right? So take me, for example. I'm a finance guy. I was trained as an accountant. I didn't stay as an accountant. I became a CFO, right? Then from there, I became a CSO, right? So, the ability to take the skills and repurpose as the world continues to evolve around you, I think is the major focus that I think is important to develop.
Yeah, I'll share a story. I visited the Silicon Valley a couple of years ago and spoke to a lady, and I asked her, "What do you do?" And she told me, "My job title, I'm a utility player." So I don't know, if I have a glass ball and I imagine what jobs will be like, to Eric's point, is all about you have all the different skills. We'll just pick you up and put you into teams and you just work on something, and you job titles and all that are no longer going to be important. Everyone is a utility player because we all have different skills that we can plug and play.
Just to round it up, I don't have the crystal. I don't even know what's going to happen in 3 years, let alone 10, to be honest and transparent. But to Eric's point, I think it's what you do today, right? That is going to be critical. I would say the world is, whether it's country, I go around speaking to government leaders. The top of mind is how do I mobilize digital transformation in a big way so that I democratize that digital opportunity for every single citizen. You go to companies, they're looking at embracing technology and digital and data to, there's a new word, right? Data is the new oil, in that sense, to mobilize the organization and transform to capture the economy of the future. So I would say in today's regard, besides the academic pursuit, look out to industry opportunity to build depths and skill sets in digital and tech. Whether you're a teacher, you need to know how to operate with the technology so that your students benefit. You're a surgeon, our medical doctors today needs to be one of the most forefront in adopting robotics and, advancement in pharmaceutical. It's all about technology. So I would say spend time to understand. You don't have to be an engineer to understand tech and digital. And then, build on soft skills, empathy, leadership, growth mindset. It's going to be the key.
Thank you. Thanks so much, my panelists here. And I know this is going to be just the last minute that I'm going to ask you this question. What would you tell our incoming students or students who are deciding about the Nanyang Business School? Something about the Nanyang Business School. Why should they come to the Nanyang Business School?
Look at us.
I was about to say, if it was good enough for us, it should be good enough for all of us, right?
Thank you. Good enough for you. It should be good enough for everybody, right? Okay, fantastic school.
I think I would say to all of you young people that it's not about what the school can bring to you. Look at what you can bring to the school, and you can shine everywhere if you bring that collaborative mindset to want to make. I think let's all make Nanyang Business School great. Put it in the put it in the map for the world, not just here in Singapore.
This is a great platform. Just you have to really leverage the platform, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for spending this hour with us on a Saturday. Thank you very much, Sherie, Eric, and Carmen, for all your contributions and all your, great words of advice. And I hope to see all of you at the Nanyang Business School very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.